Well, last week, Hunted won his first Tier 2 race in France, and RPL's return to France. You know, we go all the way back to F1.5 where he had last won, or F2, whichever you would like to refer to. However, F1.5 stats don't count toward anyone's Tier 2 wins, considering F1.5 was different from Tier 2. However, when the rebrand got done, Tier 2 stats were completely revamped for RPL, and that meant Hunted's one and other wins, I guess you could say, in F1.5 prior had been wiped to the floor, and now he can finally say that he does have a Tier 2 win under the Tier 2 system instead of just the F1.5 system. We welcome you to Hungary, round number 6 this season for Tier 2, Season 10. Speaking of Hunted, he's only 6 points behind the championship leader, Grandpa. Grandpa missed last week, and Hunted now is the only driver to score points in every single race this season of RPL. The constructor standings also close as well. 4 points separate Red Bull and Ferrari now. Red Bull had got their stuff turned around by Hunted winning, and JTK was also on the podium as well right there. Also in the thick of things is McLaren, 14 points back from Red Bull. Ferrari is 4 points back from Red Bull. And the only other team that is in that race is Mercedes, 32 points back. And now we set our sights to this Grand Prix. I'm your commentator, Ryan Ocon31. I am not alone today. It is good to have Beatnik714 alongside me. Good to see you.
Great to be back. It's going to be a fun race here at Hungary. Action-packed track. Lots of strategy involved in this race. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the championship at the end of 35 laps.
And see, there's a lot that can happen. I'm very interested in terms of the drivers and constructors as well. Ferrari does not have any of their drivers inside the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship, but they're second in the Constructors' Championship with a lot to play for. We spoke earlier, Beatnik, at Austria and even other races this season where Red Bull were kind of down in the pace. Now they've found their strides and they've turned things around. 2 poles the last 2 weeks, a front row lockout at France last week, a first win of the season last week with Hunted. That was their first win this season. And also, not only was it their first win this season, but it was also the first win for them since the penultimate round at Monza with Bonkers when he changed from Ferrari to Red Bull. And by the way, speaking of recent news as well, you and him are the only 2 confirmed for Season 11 in Tier 2 rides. So it should be interesting to see the next couple of weeks things fill up and all that kind of cool stuff. But before we get on to the stuff filling up, Beatnik, the championship race and Red Bull turning it around, this is a good thing for them. They needed it now, and this is almost the halfway point of the season, and it will be by lap 18 today.
Yeah, it's been a good turnaround for Red Bull so far. I mean, and even if you look at Hunted, he's had a good season as we're readying up now. I mean, he's got 3 podiums on the board: Bahrain, Austria, and France, of course, when he won last time out. And like you said, only 6 points off Grandpa. Grandpa didn't show. So the championship's wide open, and Hunted's really had a strong campaign. It's just his teammate. He's been getting held back by his teammates, I feel. And that is why Red Bull, they struggled at the start, but now they're leading the Constructors' Championship. They're looking good.
See, the thing with Hunted is that he needs to get in clean air, and he needs to be by himself in order to do something, because in Britain, when he was not by himself, he played the blame game. Whether or not it was JTK's fault or not, he played the blame game and said, my teammate held me up. Well, no, you got a 3-second time penalty that also costed yourself in the process, and it was against you, Grandpa, and Groggers, and it was ultimately Groggers who won that race, and technically a home race win for him. Speaking of other drivers besides Hunted, let's talk about Grandpa for a moment. And by the way, when Hunted did get in clean air and was ahead of everyone else, even though he had the 3-second in France, he still won the race. He was very dominant that weekend and finally got the win he deserved. But speaking of wins that they deserved, earlier this season in Bahrain, Grandpa won his first Tier 2 race in RPL. A very well-deserved win that was. A nice battle with Hunted, in fact, funny enough. And then the win in Austria a couple weeks later was also due to the fact that He got front wing damage in that train of cars at the very beginning of the race, and then ended up clawing his way back up through the field, had the help of some safety cars, and won the race. So Grandpa's been strong this season as well, and I think, there is definitely what ifs for Hunted, and I think both of them can say the same thing, Hunted and Grandpa, with their what ifs, because Hunted ran out of fuel in Spain, and Grandpa in Spain was taken out in the early stages of the race and only recovered to 6th. So if you really think about it, Grandpa definitely has shown some strong pace this season, but even with missing a race, he still leads the championship by 6 points, so he has been on it, Beatnik.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he is the only one with more than one win this season, so it shows why he's leading this Drivers' Championship. As speaking of Grandpa, he is the first driver out on track, so we're going to watch him set the first flying lap here. We'll see what lap time that is. But, there's a reason he's leading the championship. He's quick, he's consistent, and despite the incident in Spain, he's been fast, and that's why he's leading this championship. Hunted, he's only 6 points back. He's tried to remain consistent despite running out of fuel in Spain. He still had a fantastic season. His last 3 results being P3, P4, and P1. It's looking good. It's a good-looking championship fight here as Grandpa exits the final corner to start the first flying lap of this qualifying session.
It shall be interesting what Grandpa can do. We will ride on board with him. We won't talk about him for a little bit because we should go over the headlines prior to that. Grandpa has 2 wins, as you mentioned. McLaren have 2 wins. Ferrari have 2 wins. Red Bull have a win. Florian, Hunted, Groggers also with wins. For podium's sakes, let's go over that quickly. Ferrari with 5, Red Bull with 4. Mercedes with 3, McLaren with 3. Also, for drivers' sake, Hunted, Grandpa at 3, Dat Person, JTK, Groggers at 2, Florian, Valkyrie, and Strat Racer got his first podium of the season last week. They have 1. Okay, so now for our Tier 2 headlines in terms of changes and everything else. So, we see Alex Barron here. He's on the top of the screen out on track on the Inter tires, testing out his setup, making sure everything is right for him. He is making a second start in RPL. Exactly. Making a second start in RPL. He finished P8 last week in his debut. We welcome him to RPL. Last week, he got a full-time Alfa Romeo contract. So it is very good to see him striving well so far in RPL. Also, a couple other things. Florian had his Ferrari contracts resolved, kicked out of Ferrari. Groggers is in that seat now, and Florian moves over to Mercedes as a reserve, so that is exactly why you see Florian in the Aston Martin compared to regularly being in the Ferrari. Also, a couple other things as well. We have Zakaria, who is no longer in this session for qualifying. He has been loaned over to AlphaTauri for today. He is their only driver. Also, with that said as well, as we see times come in, Zakaria has a qualifying ban. He retired last week from the session with no valid reason. That was the reason why he has the qualifying ban. Dr. Death is a new driver in RPL. He's a Ferrari Academy reserve. Also as well, Leighton, previous RPL driver that everyone recognizes, was unbanned. And now is the Alpine Academy assistant. I would say very good move by them. They definitely needed some help over there at Alpine, especially with the way they've started their season in Tier 2. And one other thing as well before we get onto you, Beatnik. PK has a race ban for this weekend. Penalty points added up. We saw the collision with Owen. That incident was a 15-second penalty. So what that meant for him is enough penalty points to inherit a race ban. So, Beatnik, the one thing I was going to talk about with you as we see lap times fly in is the fact that you are the second driver to sign a Tier 2 contract for next season in Season 11. Yes, it might be at least a minimum of 6 weeks away, maybe longer. But at the same time, though, it feels good to get out of the way, and you do not feel so competitive in Tier 1. You're with Mercedes for Season 11 Tier 2. Tell us about that.
So, the reasoning for my decision to return to Tier 2 once again is that we have so many competitive drivers here in the Mercedes Academy, and I feel like they are more deserving of seats than I am. So I've taken the hit, and I'm going to drop myself to tier 2 for next season, so that I can give contracts to better drivers. So it's a simple reasoning. I mean, it's a shame that I can't be in tier 1. I'd absolutely love to be there, but there are some drivers who are absolutely rapid out there who have done great this season, who I think deserve a shot in a full-time tier 1 seat. Yet to be announced, but it'll be coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. You just mentioned a tier 1 seat and stuff like that. I mean, I go to our social media posts as of recent, and we spoke about so many big name guys for F1 tier 1 without a seat for next season as of right now. It amazes me how many guys do not have a seat. It's not in front of me, the list, but I think it's one Alpine available, one Williams available, and one Aston Martin available. Does that sound about right? I think there might be one more, but that sounds about right to me. Does that sound about right to you with the F1 tier 1 seats available? Now I can look at it. Here we go.
That is correct. At least in terms of my academy, we have an Aston and a Williams available. In terms of the Aston, I have a very strong feeling of who I'm going to sign. I just have not announced it yet. As for the Williams, I've narrowed it down to a few drivers who, like I said, yet to make an announcement yet, but there's a few drivers that I think are ready for that seat.
You mentioned Mercedes. I want to just talk with you a little bit longer before we get into a couple laps. And, the good thing about having you on commentary for Tier 2 is that, we get a little bit insight into Mercedes Academy. We get insight into things on how you run it, not just from a commentator point of view, but with your drivers, but also a team owner point of view, because obviously we know you're the team principal of that team. A couple things I want to ask about here, actually two things, and we'll get back to the qualifying session right after. So Zakaria recently dropped down to reserve. He's on loan to AlphaTauri. He has a qualifying ban. I mean, we know the simple things, but with that said, that he dropped down to a reserve to come down to tier 2, he's got a full-time tier 1 contract next season. Why are I don't know how the best way to ask this, but you said Mercedes has a lot of talent and has a lot of drivers you felt like you were holding yourself back from by being in a tier 1 seat. Now, my question, I guess, is that with that said, does Zakaria drop down to tier 2 with how he's been? I mean, I don't mean to, hurt the poor lad by saying it, but at the same time, he's not had points since Monaco in tier 1, and him being in a Williams for next season. Do you guys still plan to stick with that? With that said, and once you're done answering that, I'll ask my second question.
Yeah. I mean, at least for now, that is the plan, to hold Zakaria in that tier 1 seat. I dropped him to tier 2, I mean, per his request. So, he wanted to run some races in tier 2 this season, and I obliged. I mean, the admins were very angry at me when I first did it, but I was actually at threat of losing my power. So, but he's gonna remain a reserve for the remainder of the season. I'm gonna see if I can get him a few more loans, maybe a seat here in my academy for the remainder of the season. But for now, the plan is to keep him in tier 1 for season 10. He is a talented driver. He can be fast. He can be a very quick driver. From what I remember, I think it was Imola earlier this season. He was quick. He was a fast driver, but
Saudi too.
In Saudi as well. He on his day, he is a rapid driver, and I just want to see more of that from him, and hopefully tier 2 can bring that out of him so that he can take that into tier 1 next season.
I mean, if tier 2 can bring that out of him, I hate to burst your bubble on that, but if tier 2 can bring that out of him to where he can get to the best of his abilities, is there a possibility in the future of, next season potentially dropping him to tier 2? Just a quick answer on that as well. If he's able to show enough to where he's not too fast for tier 2, but at the same time he can extract the most out of it and not have the issues he's had in tier 1 recently.
The only scenario in which I drop him to tier 2 is if he requests to be dropped. So, at least for my plan is to hold him in tier 1 and keep him there for season 10. But unless he asks to come down to tier 2, I'll grant him his request. So,
yeah, it's a fair point. And
Sorry.
You're all good. I was gonna say, you as a team principal, you're very open with your drivers as to respecting their wishes and, you know, getting not necessarily just what they want, but what's best for the team as well. I mean, we've seen Mercedes the last couple weeks in Tier 1. They've been striving a lot better. And, that has helped to your podium at Monza, Luke's pole at Singapore, his win at Monza. There is a lot that definitely goes into it. One last question, then we're going to get to the session because we do have some laps that we're going on board with, but we're not really talking about them much. So you mentioned the Williams seat. You mentioned the Aston Martin seat. Obviously, there is, in terms of that, a lot of good drivers out there who could take one of those seats. I'm going to name some of the following drivers who do not have a full-time seat for next season. And who knows if they want to be full-time or not themselves, but here's the list of drivers who could be for next season. Molly, T.S. Korsman, Grandpa, Dat Person, Minions, Minico. Big highlight at Minico right there. I believe there's also Cryptic as well, funny enough. Yes, I know he's in Red Bull Academy. You also have Groggers. And there's multiple other drivers out there I didn't name. Is there anybody I didn't name that you're specifically looking at for an Aston or Williams seat out there? You said you have people in mind. You don't have to name it on stream. But is there anyone out of those names that you are thinking about for a Tier 1 seat next season?
There is one name that you did not mention, and I'm gonna keep it hidden for now because
good.
At the moment, my current driver Shanghai, I think he's doing a decent job, and I want to see him finish more races. And if he can do that, I'll grant him a contract extension. So, at the moment, it's between him and an unnamed driver. And as for the Aston Martin seat, I know exactly who I'm gonna sign. I just haven't mentioned it yet or announced it.
Is that the one where I mentioned somewhere outside of didn't mention those drivers specifically?
I'm not gonna say.
Interesting.
But the only thing that I will say is I know exactly who's going to take that other Aston seat, and right now it's a 50-50 between the remaining Williams. So that is what we're looking at.
Well, let's stay on board with Valkyrie. She's finishing her lap, coming out of the final corner. This corner sometimes can be a little bit tricky on traction, but when you nail it, it is so beautiful. Valkyrie comes across the line. She's been struggling the last couple of weeks. She goes 15th, but the good thing is she does have another chance to improve on that lap. Let's see who else is on a lap. Currently, Hunted is on an outlap. Zakaria said the stream ended. Chat, I see it up for me still. Chat, can you give us indication that the stream is still up? Also, while you guys are at it, if you want to, give us your predictions for the rest of the session. That would be very nice to do. I'm trying to find somebody who is on a lap. Max Verstappen, 22, says
Leon.
it is working.
Leon. I'm going to watch Leon because he is my hero.
Okay. I'll watch Alex Bear because Alex Bear is in the final sector. Alex Bear is 2/10 up. This is really impressive. Last weekend we talked about in Tier 1 the potential of Sauberfan cheating. And the reason we mention this is because Sauberfan was within a tenth or two of drivers who are extremely fast in RPL and extremely at the top of the leaderboards. Well, Alex Bear is doing exactly what Cam did and putting this car within 6-5 tenths in front of the field, and now he puts himself 4 tenths off the top of the board and is 8th on the time charts. He finished P8 last week. This is impressive from this driver who's just joined RPL. I've got to say,
Leon's missed the pits. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Leon missed the pits. He hops the curb on the in between the final corner and pit entry. He hops the curb, and then he missed the pit entry, and I think that's gonna cost him a shot here at doing one more lap, because he's got no ERS, and I'm gonna assume he's got no fuel.
Yeah, I agree on that one. There are a couple drivers coming out for hot laps. We've had Hunted set a 15-3 at the top of the board, currently on pole position over Dat Person. Those two were exchanging lap times and exchanging feelings about the track prior to the race in the RPL chat. We've got 9 drivers within the 15s right now. The rest of the drivers are either in the 16s or slower. Something interesting to mention as well, Owen, our champion from last season in Haas, has said very vocally in the party that I was in prior to the race with him that he was struggling. He was very much struggling. He found some time at the very end and was improving and got himself to a 16.3 in time trial in that Haas. But he's only a 10th off of that. So we'll have to find out how much Owen can improve. However, we do have a driver on the lap. It is Molly 41. I'll let you have a chance once we hit the middle part of the track, beat Nick to cover this lap. But I want to cover Sector 1 here because this is very interesting. Turn 1, it can be an easy place to lose traction. Molly keeping it very, very steady on the track. Also comes to Turn 2. We saw Fernando Alonso defend here very beautifully in this corner. Come to Turn 3. You want to be toward the inside curb. And there is raceable room on the outside of that track at that corner, or outside of the corner there, to race off the track. He is just invalidated. He went purple in the first sector, 32,000 up, had a very decent run toward Turn 4, but just bottled it right there. He will have a chance at one more go.
Yeah, shame about that one. And oh no, that person's been given a 5th-place grid penalty. Shenanigans there. That's gonna drop him down to P7, and that's a huge shame there. I don't know where he's picked that up. He's in the 2nd sector right now through the beautiful winding S's. He's got a couple cars behind him, but that's a strange 5-second penalty right there. Or 5th-place grid. That's very unique.
Yeah. We do have a couple drivers on laps. I think Florian almost got blocked right there. Who is starting a lap? Let's see. We'll go on board with whoever just started a lap right there. I believe that's an Alpine. That is Molly 41 once again. We'll try this attempt number 2. You know, he's in a split of 2 previous Tier 2 champions. You got Owen and you got Tadpole. Beat Nick, how about you go on board with this lap and give it back away as we enter the final sector?
Well, he's going to come through Turn 3 here. 3rd gear corner. Makes it look easy. Flat out there through Turn 4. And then run up the hill towards Turn 5. Very tricky corner. You could easily spin it on that inside curb. And then another deadly inside curb in Turn 6. That exit curb is also just as deadly. I believe this is the 7 and 8 chicane. And he makes it look pretty. Want to stay off those tall curves. And now the beautiful S section. Just clipping those entry curbs. Hitting that exit curb. Making it look easy. The F1 Season 2 champion!
Oh!
And that is a tricky corner there.
No!
And he's invalidated it. And it's an absolute shame there. That was a beautiful looking lap as he went through the S's. And it's all gone awry.
Well, Hunt has just extended his pole at 15-1. And will be on provisional pole. We'll see if anyone can improve on that. Molly definitely doesn't have a chance to. Checkered flag is out. We have seen Valkyrie improve to P12. It looks like that will be it for her. Also coming across the line next is a Ferrari. It is that person who is improving by 3/10 and could potentially steal this pole position away from Hunted. Ferrari have had 3 poles so far this season. They can't make it 4. That person who was on pole in Vegas can't do any better. The Haas of Instincts coming back. Sits 14th. Also checkered flag for the McLaren. That is Grandpa, your championship leader, who will be 5th. Jackstar comes across the line, improves a place. Florian as well, crashes across the line, can't improve. Behind that, there's also more cars coming across the line. That's Tadpole, then the Aston Martin as well as the Ferrari of Groggers, who can't improve. And there's still a couple more drivers who have a chance to improve. However, JTK has invalidated it. So now it's up to Tret Racer. Tret Racer comes to the line. He does improve, but he can't improve any places. So it is going to be Hunted on pole position, assuming Valkyrie can't improve this lap, and she definitely can't. So Hunted will be on pole position for the 3rd time in a row in RPL this season. We also have 2 drivers now who've went 3 consecutive poles in the 6 races to start the season. Florian for Ferrari and Hunted for Red Bull.
It only looks better there for Hunted. We mentioned at the start of the stream, he's hot right now, and he's fired up, and he's quick, and he has shown it once again with a pole position. Tret Racer is going to be on the front row here with that person's 5th-place grid penalty. So, well done there by the Mercedes driver to stick it, well, P3, but it's going to be a front row start for him. And I'm going to talk to him about that Red Bull helmet, because that's not going to fly.
Yeah, I agree about that one. that person is not too happy about this 5-place grid penalty. And also, Florian is not too happy with a couple of the drivers there, JTK being the main one. So, here's your qualifying order. 22 thousandths Hunted is on pole position over that person by. Behind that, Tret Racer, who got his first podium of the season last week for Mercedes. Moving to Mercedes, he's done much, much better. First podium he got last week on this game cycle. And, in fact, he had a 50% finishing rate in RPL. So, you know, when he's finishing the points. And when he's not finished, well, he's definitely not been close to the points either. JTK, Grandpa, round out the top 5. Then you have Groggers, Florian, Jackstar, Alex Bear, and Owen running at your top 10. Interesting names outside the top 10 include Molly, Valkyrie. We've got Zakari at the back of the grid. We have tons of headlines in terms of where drivers are at. But Valkyrie back there in P12 is my biggest surprise outside that top 10.
Yeah, it's a shame to see that as the team principal. You want to see your Mercs, your lead team, you want to see them at least in the top, at the bare minimum in the top 8 here. It's a good track for Mercedes as well, so it's a shame. I mean, her teammate is on the front row here, just a few tenths off of Hunted, which is some good stuff there. But hopefully she can make up some places during the race.
All right, speaking of the race now, Beatnik, we have a strategy that we have to look at here. Soft to hard, medium to hard is the biggest potential. Your soft medium is the Hail Mary. Cliff puncture range for these tires. Hard's 23 to 27, mediums 20 to 23, and softs 15 to 17. And by the way, these are laps, not how many times you can run off the track. Also, as well, your ERS that you gain back in the pit lane, 17%, and the pit stop loss at 20 seconds. So a lot to play out for in this race in terms of strategy. It's just going to depend on if we have a safety car or not. We didn't have one last week, and in fact, speaking of last week, we had a full grid last week, one less this week, and we had 5 DNFs in that race as well.
Yeah,
Most
I
coming in
mean,
the pit lane.
five DNFs, I mean, bit of a shame there. Hopefully we can get a few less DNFs this time. I believe Spain was a very low DNF count when I commentated that one.
Yes.
But as you said, there are a few names that are outside the top 10. Like you said, you mentioned Mally and Valkyrie. You got Tadpole outside of there as well. And FBL, 15th in the Aston Martin. A bit of a shame to see him back there. And here we go, 5 red lights.
5 red lights come upon us. And they're out. It's time to bring the action for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hunted gets off the line decently well. He's going to be far enough ahead of Tret Racer. They jockey it out for a position behind that. You have 3 wide between Grandpa, Groggers, JTK, and Tret Racer dives down the inside already. He's going to send it at turn 1. Also pushed off the track is JTK. Tret Racer takes the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And we have cars in the back heading to the grass, trying to take evasive action. Florian already up into P5. He's side by side with his previous team principal. A little bit of history here. He almost shoves him off, and more yellow flags. That's JTK. Owen in the runoff. Kipu's been hindered to some extent. JTK last on the running order after all that.
Oh my goodness, chaotic start there, and as you said, JTK, he's around! He's around! Him and Owen! And we have a VSC!
Well, that brings a halt to this race. Broken front wing, you have to repair it. Owen as well has no front wing as well. That brings out the virtual safety car for the first time this race.
Oh my goodness, chaotic start, but Tret Racer, they both got a good launch on the front row, but he just did the big send into turn 1, and he used those medium tires to absolute perfection, got past Hunted, and now he's got a second lead. And full safety car now.
Oh. Well, there you go. It's been upgraded. And this happens just as Tret Racer passes the pit lane. It's not going to affect the drivers too much, though, considering we won't likely see many pit stops. Only the people who have damage. Goggy gained 3 at the start. Zakaria gained 5 at the start. Also, other drivers include Instincts at up 2, Tadpole up 2, Valkyrie up 3, Alex Bear gained a place in his second RPL race, Jackstar up 2, Florian up 2. I was getting a little nervous seeing the old Ferrari teammates, technically, Florian and Groggers, side by side there. That did worry me because Florian now off to Aston Martin and the Mercedes Academy as a reserve. Groggers, his previous team principal, kicked him out at Ferrari, so it did worry me to see them two go side by side. It was kind of, you know, not flashbacks, but definitely the same level of concern I had if you do flashback, I guess, to Hunted and him at Silverstone earlier this season and Austria as well.
Bad blood between those two. Of course, seeing the Aston Martin ahead of the Ferrari, I'm sure that won't make George very happy with himself. Makes me giddy with joy. Seeing Florian in that P4. Good start from him. Yeah. And I'm sure he told me that he wanted to get past George, and I told him, just keep it clean. I don't want to get penalties here. So
exactly.
But he's had a good start, and he's sat in P4, which is a good result for the Aston Martin, who, well, we kind of struggled in the early stages of this season, but hopefully Florian can turn that around for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he struggled too badly. I mean, he's had the pace to be up there, but his racecraft has not been exactly, I guess, what people would have wanted it to be, who have, watched him and been a part of helping him, whether it be a team principal or anyone, really. And, with that said, yeah, he did it cleanly, and he's really bringing the Aston Martin to places, in my opinion. Not that it doesn't belong, but it usually isn't in Tier 2. The last time I remember seeing an Aston Martin up this high, I would have to say was back at Monza, and even before that, I would think it was probably Japan when Depth Knights got the pole position there earlier in last season. Also, a little bit of confrontation we're hearing about between Owen and Mali 41. Owen is not happy that he moved under the braking. Those two started, I think, very close to one another, and that, I think, possibly caused what happened there. It turned 4-5 area, and if it didn't, well, Owen either crashed in terms of, not due to that, but that's what happened right before that, I guess. So yeah, not the way that he would have wanted it to be.
Yeah, not sure what happened. I was looking at the battle up front while it was going on, but Owen and Mally, they started P10 and 11 respectively, so if something happened between them... Oh my goodness, there's... what did I just witness? I've just witnessed Owen mounting Goggy, so this has turned into an NSFW stream.
Well, that's the second time you've been on here and that's happened, so I guess we should not invite you back next time.
Go
back to your Burger
I'm
King
banned
ads.
From comms. I'll see you guys in Tier 3.
Yeah, Tier 3?
I'm sorry,
you
Tier
better go
0.
back to...
I'm sorry, Tier 0.
Yeah, I was going to say, you better go back to selling your Burger King ads at this point with bringing some NSFW content onto this stream. Come on, Beatnik. What's wrong with you? Safety car is in this lap. It's a very late one, and we'll see how Tret Racer leads him to the green flag. 5 of the last 9 races he's DNF'd, but when he's finished the race, he scored points. First podium of the season last week, and first podium on the game cycle last week. Time to bring the action once more. Here we are, green flag racing once again, and he is dumping all that battery on the main straight. How about Jackstar going to give Groggers a little bit of a threat on the run toward turn 1? Jackstar looks, but can't do anything about it. Alex Bear in the background also has to protect the Mercedes. That's Valkyrie, who gains spots on the start of the race as well. We flick to the tires and look at what tires all the drivers are on as well in the meantime. But back to the battle for the lead. Tret Racer, a 5/10 gap over Hunted.
Good restart there by Tret Racer. Kept it clean. Made sure there are no incidents towards the back. Clean restart, and that's off the track, I think. Could be a potential warning there. Shame that. Remember, this is a very penalty. This is a track where you could easily get a penalty here. So, of course, me who holds the record for most penalties in Tier 1, in a race. So, happened here. Had a nice, easy 54 seconds of penalties before I got disqualified.
Well, here we go. Florian is also now putting some pressure on the back of Grandpa. It's funny because, we now have Florian, who's up here in an Aston Martin, a completely different car, battling the same two people he did earlier this season in Austria, Grandpa and Hunted, just in a different team this time, and a different academy as well. While these three sit close, we go back to Dat Person and Jackstar. Dat Person had his only pole in RPL at Vegas. He has started well and raced well, but he's not got the results he's wanted, and now he has a chance to do so. Looking to the inside, in the background, Valkyrie also on Alex Bear. Valkyrie, 1 DNF already this season. She's not had the best of things the last couple weeks after her podium in Spain. She's looking to turn it around, and she is ahead, so that's where that starts. to turn things around, getting the place over Alex Bear. In the background as well, Instincts is ahead on Zakaria, remains in that space. Also behind that, Blue Goggy, JTK, they all
Here
follow
comes
each
Goggy.
other. Single file, but however, Goggy wants to change that around the outside. Turn 4 is usually not an overtaking zone. However, he's very lucky that JTK didn't overtake him right there and didn't take advantage. And speaking of taking advantage, here's FBL down the inside on Owen for 16th place at the very back of the grid. Not much points on offer right here. In fact, no offer for points, but it could mean something later. JTK gets the place on Blue Goggy. So very good racing here at the very back of the grid here for outside the points. This will matter later because some of these guys already have pitted.
Yeah, and speaking of pitting, may I mention Val? She's up a good number of spots, but look at that. She's on soft tires here, so she's gonna have to pit soon to bolt on most likely a set of hard tires to get to the end of this race. As we go back up front, only 2 tenths between our top 2 drivers and the 2 Ferraris going wheel to wheel.
They've scored a podium in each race this season. So they're trying to make it 6 in a row for the start of the season. 7 in a row in total. Ferrari swap around both cars, whether it was meant or not. The places are contested. And now Owen and FBL, they're trying to battle this out for 16th place. Once again, Owen cuts him off, gets the upper edge. FBL still sticking at his nose, and they collide. It is flashbacks to PK and Owen. And now Kipu has crashed out of this race from the contact, and it brings out the virtual safety car.
I made the unfortunate incident to not watch that battle. I was looking at the pretty much DRS train up front, and I was hoping that would come to nothing, but it came to literally everything, as Kipu is our first DNF of the day in the Williams. Shame there.
It's really unfortunate that that is the case.
But VSC still out here. Looks like this one is not going to transition to a full course safety car. Gap half a second between Tret Racer and Hunted. Tret Racer on mediums, Hunted on hards. And I hear you chuckling. Has someone said something in the chat?
Yeah, it was Luke with Owen. You've been in the wars. Well, yes, it was a very similar to collision, in fact, to him and PK last week. However, it looks less intended. That's the thing. And Instincts with a drive-through, and I think there's more than just one driver with a drive-through. We've got 3 drivers with a drive-through.
My goodness.
Inside of Jackstar makes the move as well. Very good restart by her.
Instincts
and
and
Zakaria go side by side. 2 drivers with a drive-through in that battle. Make it 3 because Goggy wants to split his nose right there as well. And how about 2 by 2 entering turn number 2 and a little bit of contact between Instincts and Goggy. Zakaria loses the place. Goggy gets ahead of Instincts, and now Goggy wants his chance again, but this time at Zakaria. And Instincts lost the rear right there, so now he falls further back.
Ridiculous save there by Instincts to keep the car going in a straight line. I don't know if you saw that. That was ridiculous. As the battle continues between Goggy and Zakaria, and Zach flies off the track.
And bit of contact. They bang wheels. Zakaria pinched him, and Blue Goggy's going to pinch him back. However, they both go off the road.
Remember, we talked about this with Goggy. I mean, he has a race ban in F2 for poor racecraft. Let's hope he can not do that here. He's kept it, I mean, harsh but fair between these 2 drivers. But remember, they both still have a drive-through penalty to serve, and FBL now joining the fight to pick up some scraps.
Now you're going to stay out and wait to serve that drive-through one more lap. So will Instincts as well, who makes his return this week to RPL after being out for, I believe, a race due to missing it. Either way, he's in a nice little battle with FBL as well, who had a look down the inside but couldn't make anything of it. And also we switch back to the race lead. Tret Racer for Mercedes leads the Grand Prix. We look at teams that have scored points in every round. Mercedes is not one of them. Their only points finish, their only race without being in the points was back at Austria, where both cars didn't finish in the points. They had a really long streak going, and that ended at that race, whereas the teams who do have points every round, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, all run around him.
Yep, was a shame there in Austria, but trust me, you and I both know how chaotic that race was.
Yes.
I don't blame them for not finishing in that race, and it's a shame to see the streak end, but Next season, we're going to try and make sure we finish in the points in every single race.
Absolutely. DRS obviously helping some of the drivers in their run toward turn 1 in these battles. Florian now closer to Grandpa. It doesn't look like there'll be move made there. Florian conserving a lot more ERS than he's been the last couple of weeks he's raced. He missed last week due to the whole contract situation. And here comes Jackstar, already on the run toward turn 1, making the move on Valkyrie. Inside line, absolutely sends it. But can Valkyrie switch it back? It looks like the answer is no. She slides out of the corner. Behind that, there's a little battle with Owen and FBL. I believe Owen had to concede the place, and behind that, Blue Goggy and Instincts pit for their drive-thrus. Serve them very cleanly. They're going to come out near Zakaria. Where are they in that battle? I believe Zakaria will be ahead of both of them. Let's just check. It is just Instincts and then Goggy right in front of him. So he is not ahead of both of them like we projected.
So the battle rages on there, and off topic from the race, it is hailing at my house. So if I leave the party, you know why.
It is what at your house? Hammering?
Hail. It's hail.
Oh, hail. Oh, well, that's bad weather. You know, it's been raining.
Didn't expect
here
that
all day.
today. Let's hope this race stays dry. So,
Fair enough.
and
It's
oh
been-
my goodness,
yeah.
out of the lead.
Oh, yes. Strat Racer made a mistake. He was 8/10 ahead of Hunted, and now Hunted has found a way to close the gap, and he is right there on Strat Racer. This is very crucial toward the championship because Hunted can boost that point score for this race. He's going to have a look on the
they hit.
outside. They touch wheels in the braking zone. Was it a bit of moving under braking? I don't think so, but Strat Racer just cuts him off and shows Hunted the inside line, and around the outside, Strat Racer's going to try to hang on to it for the lead. They're still side by side as they enter turn 3. They almost come together, but Hunted around the outside gets the move done for the race lead.
Very tight racing there through pretty much the entire first sector. Looks like the hards and the mediums have finally hit the switch point. Hards starting to become the better race tire at this particular moment in the race. So Hunted, he'll look a lot better here in the second stint once he moves on to mediums, or maybe even the soft tires. We don't know. Meanwhile, Florian in third place right now.
He just overtook him there because of a mistake from Grandpa. Your championship leader is seriously struggling, and now he's got that person for company for P4 now.
And that person has 99% ERS.
Oh, Blue Goggy and Zakaria are back at it again. Goggy cuts across the track and runs right into Instincts, and he's around. Blue Goggy made contact with Zakaria, more coming together, they couldn't get off each other, and Goggy went straight on and ran into Instincts. That is a serious unsafe rejoin, and that will be looked at by the stewards, no doubt about it.
No idea what happened there. Wasn't looking. The battle up front is very intense right now as Valk enters the pits on her knackered soft tires. I'm going to assume it's going to be hard tires for her. Yes, it is. So maybe a potential undercut here for her on the hards. We'll see how that pans out. But meanwhile, Strat Racer remaining in the DRS of Hunted. But as I said, don't know what happened with Blue Goggy, Instincts, and Zakaria, but it's ended in tears.
Yeah, it was just... Obviously, I didn't catch the full thing. I saw Goggy and Zakaria going side by side at turn 4, and it just was never going to end well because of how these two drivers have fared out. And Goggy again down the inside of Zakaria. Hopefully they don't touch rear to front wheel. However, Zakaria this time uses the runoff, comes back on, gonna pull to the right side of Goggy, around the outside. I think Zakaria's gonna let him go, but Zakaria gives him the squeeze. Zakaria is pushing Goggy to the wall.
In the wall!
And Goggy pushes back. And now Zakaria rejoins behind. These two are absolutely being clowns with one another. Call it what it is, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's getting kind of mad now, and I was trying to film the weather, but that happened, so I was watching the TV and not my window, because, oh my, the heavens have opened in the state of North Carolina, as we have a DRS train and a car down the inside, JTK getting past Mally, good move there, and Florian having a neat little Alonso train here with himself, Grandpa, and that person.
Absolutely. We're looking on board that person to see how he follows along. He went off the track there at turn number 3 the previous lap. And you could see Grandpa closing in. Obviously, look at the tires they're on. The mediums. with most of these guys in this battle, actually all of them in this battle. As we look to the field, most of the drivers on mediums, in fact, and Valkyrie gets Lee on minor. With that said, with most drivers being on the mediums, yeah, we expect them to pit anywhere from lap 12 to 20. You know, the mediums can go decently long, but they will wear off a lot easier than the hards. And, you know, if you're on the mediums, you won't be able to convert in a way where you'll have the pace in the second half of this race. So these guys in the hards, such as Hunted, Groggers, Jackstar, and even Alex Bear, and Molly in the top 10 as well, have set themselves up really, really well for the second half of this race. Before we go back to this battle with Dat Person Grandpa, Alpine have had a DNF with at least one of their cars in 5 of the last 6 races. Molly trying to make that not happen again. And we have that battle with Dat Person, Grandpa, and Florian, which is just not trading paint yet, but definitely trading sides of the track, one going one way, the other going the other, and now everyone still remains single file, luckily, for the time being.
Some clean racing there, and just want to update the warning situation, because I know you can't look at that because you're streaming, but it's very spicy right now. Hunted, 1 warning, Trap Racer 2 warnings, Florian 2 warnings, Grandpa, no warnings, Dat Person 1 warning, and Gruggers 1 warning. So, couple guys, 1 more warning, and that's a 3-second penalty.
FBL picked up a penalty right there. First driver into the penalty box. I want to speak again about Zakaria and Gagi as they are fighting in the main straight. Zakaria gives him the squeeze. Gagi down the inside. Gagi locks up the brakes. Zakaria goes off and slides. He's almost off and luckily remains in the road. Yeah, no, it was getting ridiculous between them. What happened there is turn 4, they made contact, were stuck together. That's a crash. That's a FBL there off the road. And he gets overtaken while that happens. Back to, oh, hold on. Grandpa and Dat Person, 4th place on the road. Dat Person has the inside line for turn 1. Grogger's looking around the outside. Can Grandpa hang on? He's going to go off the track, come back on, and rejoin behind Dat Person. So now, with 15 points being the difference in Hunted and Grandpa this race, the gap in the championship between Grandpa and Hunted is 9 points. And now Dat Person wants to make the move on Florian. Florian holding him up, but can't go through. Also, yeah, back to the Zakaria and Gagi thing. I'm going to be quiet about these two in terms of the battle on track, unless they actually do collide. Yeah, rear to front were connected, battling it out again, and they went into turn 5. Gagi was off the road. Zakaria backed out. Gagi lifted, but he didn't lift enough, and he came back on where you shouldn't rejoin. It said rejoin when safe at turn 5 in the event notes. He rejoined into a different corner, and whoa, Zakaria toward the pit lane throws one on the inside of Gagi. This is exactly what I mean, and Zakaria and Gagi are again trading blows.
I think it's getting worse and worse between these two, as Gerard is the first one to blink here. This could be implications in the race. He's the first to blink. He's going to go to the hard tires. We're going to see if he can pick up some form of undercut, as Florian, trying to defend from Dat Person, holds the place for now, but Dat Person is going to get the outside here, heading into turn 3. Can he get it? Around the outside. He's going to do this good old switcheroo, switchback of dreams. It's not a dream, it's a nightmare there. He doesn't get the place, and Florian once again holds on.
Absolutely, yeah. The thing with Zakaria and Gagi, you know, it is ridiculous, and it was ridiculous. The thing is, he came back onto the track, and there was a car right there. It's not like he had no one around him. If he had no one around him, him coming like that wouldn't have been as bad. Yes, it was still bad, but it wouldn't have been as bad. The fact of the matter is, you had Instincts right there, who was trying to just mind his own business and get around them two battling, and it didn't work out. Zakaria, DNF the last 3 races. AlphaTauri have the best finish of any teams with the 6th place, came it back at Austria, and Gagi's DNF'd in 2 of his last starts, whereas Alfa Romeo have a best finish of 5th this season, so they're not helping their case, and again, them two are at it. Last place on the road. However, this time, they keep it clean at turn 1. They're coming into turn 2. They do keep it clean this time. However, Zakaria, I guess, playing a little bit of mind games with him, as Florian heads to the pit lane for his one and only pit stop this race. Can it be a clean pit stop? We'll find out.
JTK.
Yellow flags in the straight. Oh, he has
First
just
spin.
done what Checo did in 2014 there. at the last corner.
Wasn't that
Except
Vettel?
Checo and Vettel, I think, did it.
Oh,
Except
yeah,
he's
you're
kept
right.
it out of the wall.
And Gerard, look at that. He has undercut Florian successfully up into, I believe, what is that, net P3? That's going to be net P3,
Yeah.
which actually that might put Val in a potential net P5, P6-ish. So the decision to go soft tires for Val may not have been that bad after all. She can make those hards last to the end of the race.
Zakaria and Gagi again trading blows. Zakaria goes off the circuit, comes back on sliding. These two are definitely making a joke of themselves. However, we go back to the net race lead. JTK Grandpa, JTK on much more worn medium tires, is blocking the road for Grandpa to get past, and Grandpa trying to find a way past, can't find a way through. Track Racer pits on those mediums, so we'll watch this battle to see where he comes out in comparison to these two. And now Grandpa has a look down the inside. He's gonna throw it down there. Can he keep it though? They remain side by side. It is JTK who has to back out, and in the process, Florian gets through and also gains the gap on Grandpa. Florian was about a second back there, and now he's right there. Dat Person is in as well, and now we watch the battle on the main straight to see where they all fan out. Leon Miner, a 3-second time penalty. Second driver in the penalty box. Might not be the only one with a penalty by the end of this race. And now here is Dat Person exiting the pit lane. It's going to be side by side with his former teammate Florian, and Florian is ahead. Dat Person ahead of JTK.
Tried to pull off that overcut there, Dat Person. Just couldn't get it done there. So, positions remain as is, but Gerard, I think, was the biggest winner out of that. Got P8 off of Florian, and he's ahead of Dat Person. JTK yet to stop, and Valk. Now she's kind of in this battle as well. So,
You know who's a big winner in my opinion? Track Racer right there. Got himself out ahead of the Alpine of Tadpole. Yellow flag set his FBL around. I think he kept it off of the barrier, at least with the front of the car he did. He is running into more issues this race in the Aston Martin. But yeah, Track Racer is the big winner for me because where he came out in front of Tadpole, who, by the way, finished his first race of the season last week. And in doing that, as FBL off the road again, Tadpole ended up being last of the runners there last week, and now he's having a quiet race as Alex Bear is in. And now so is Tadpole, but where Tadpole was, he was just only in DRS with Track Racer. So that's perfect there for Track Racer, who's trying to undercut Hunted. And by the way, they're going to be coming out on different tires, and you're exactly right. Zakaria and Gagi side by side there at turn number 5. Is Zakaria going to throw one at the chicane? No, but he looks to the outside, gives him the Panerino, and can't get around him. But Gagi is being a roadblock to Zakaria, he feels, and Zakaria sends it on him, pushes him off the road. Gagi comes back out, is ahead, and Zakaria comes back at it, punches right in the side of him, and is back
Hunted's
ahead.
about to lap these guys.
That's why this is a big talking point. That's why. These two have been at it for the whole race, and they're about to be lapped. And, Hunted might actually get DRS right here. I think, in my opinion, as we come to the detection point, he will get DRS. That's the best thing for Hunted, because with this overcut that he's trying, he needs that DRS. But he does not need these two ghosting inside of him either.
Well, the ghosting,
Here we go.
On the plus side, it's just going to be a distraction, the ghosting. And George, he's going to finally bring it in. He's the first of the hard runners, I think, coming to the pits. As Jackson stays out, Melly stays out, and Track Racer...
Oh, there they go! Gagi is out of this race and almost upside down, and now the safety car is out. That was going to happen eventually between Zakaria and Gagi, and they finally came together. This happens while Groggers has just hit the pit lane, and this is a dream scenario for Hunted, your race leader.
Dream scenario for Jacksta, Mally as well. I believe, regardless, Track Racer is going to come out in second place here, but my goodness, easy lead for Hunted, and not only that, he's going to have a tire advantage for the rest of this race, unless Track Racer comes back into the pits for another set of mediums. And Zakaria, 3-second penalty for warnings, and I don't think he cares at this point. But my goodness, absolute chaos between those two, and you knew, like you said, you knew it was going to happen. Absolute disaster, and I think the stewards are going to be looking at that one greatly.
Yeah. I had some strong words in the tier 2 chat because I would not say them on stream what my personal opinion is, but I will say, Gagi has just said, I have the clips, don't you worry, a ban is coming your way. Ooh. Well, I will say, you know, people might think, well, hey, Gagi has no room to talk. He's been dirty in F2. However, though, you still can't cancel out the fact that Zakaria and him both have been going at each other equally just as badly. And Zakaria heads to the pit lane, retires from the session. Hunted ends up pitting under the safety car, giving himself new medium tires, while Jackstar's in, Molly is in, and now we look to Tret Racer on the front straight. Tret Racer will be second place in this race.
Oh my goodness, and it's terrible for Tret Racer. He was easily going to come out in the lead, and it just would have come down to can hunt him back down on the medium tires, which he probably would have, but now it's just made this a lot more anticlimactic. And at least for Gerard or Grandpa, he's in P3 here, so damage limitation in terms of the drivers' championship as Valk and Albert back into the pits. I believe Valk's on a set of mediums. Yep, that is correct. So back out of the point she goes, but on fresh mediums, who knows?
Absolutely. I don't know why they pitted again, but anyway, everybody has pitted in this race except for Leon Miner. Actually, nope. Incorrect. Incorrect right there. I am wrong. Leon Miner has pitted, but he has not pitted since lap 2 in this race. Gagi and Zakaria are both going at it in the chat now.
As to be expected.
Not the Twitch chat, by the way, for anyone
I'm
watching without.
Discord. This is
I know.
gonna be fun.
I know. Just to, I thought so too. This is, you know, this might not be a comedy special on track, but it's definitely a comedy special in the Discord with them too right now.
Oh no, that was a comedy special.
Oh, I mean, you know, if you're a NASCAR fan, maybe, but if you're, you know, here making a decision in RPL or, you know, a racer in RPL or someone watching, I don't think it is the same way for you as well. I mean, I'll put it this way. Realistically, both of them are at fault for whatever it may be. You know, Zakaria said he wanted to finish it with what was happening right there. Okay, he finished it. But at the same time, it's all on stream. It's all on stream. And I do like Zakaria a lot. I'm not going to be biased in this situation at all. And yeah, Gagi's been at fault too. Zakaria's been at fault too. But it's probably the best thing that both of them are out of this race right now at this point.
I mean, odds are we're not going to get another safety car for the rest of this race as hero Leon returns to the pits. He's only using 0.3% of his powers right now, so he's had a very under the radar race. But I'm sure by the end of this we'll have like 4 more cars out and he'll score a point. So as per the normal Leon special. I wonder if he's going to come out ahead of FBL here. It's going to be close. Nah, FBL's going to get ahead of him there.
See, but here's the thing. I want to mention this for the sake of the viewer, right? There's 6 people, now 7 people watching the stream. You know, let us know who you are rooting for if you are watching the stream. And if you have any predictions. The reason why, and I want people to understand this for the sake of a commentator point of view, and you'll understand this, Beatnik, and I think a couple others will as well. The reason why I was switching back and forth between the battles we had at the front of the field and Zakaria and Gagi, who are running plumb last right there, or were running plumb last, the reason why that is because, you know, it was ridiculous what I saw there at turn 4 and at turn 5. I said, yeah, this is just going to continue happening, and it did. I was not wrong. You know, when people are going at each other for that much and that long, you have to focus at 2 battles at once. And the reason why I say that is because the back of the grid, with the way they were both driving, you know, I not usually focus on the back of the grid as much. I still do, but not as often. However, stuff like that inherits it, and here's why. Because when you don't stream an RPL for a commentator point of view, you don't have enough clips to say, oh yeah, well, we can look at another angle. We can see if that's on stream. Well, guess what? Everything that you just saw right there, except for maybe a few minor things, was on stream right there. And if them two want to sit here and say, oh, well, you know, you did it to me first, I'll do it back. Oh, well, you shouldn't have done it back. You should have just overtook me. Whatever, you know. If any of them want to say anything or say, okay, I have my point of view, or, oh, darn it, I didn't clip that part. Well, it's on stream. So, you know, and, you know, the F2 incident with you yourself and Goggy Beatnik, you know, yes, there was you're on board, but it also was a good enough view on stream to detail, hey, there was other cars involved in what happened there at Portimao, and the stream did show a clear point of view on how much momentum you were gaining. Plus, you know, it's not just the driver point of view as well. It's the alternative angle that does help steward these incidents for the stewarding team for RPL.
And somebody in the Twitch chat, the Epic Racer, made a very good point. I think I'm going to have to agree with him. Both drivers should get a race ban for that. I mean, I know Zakaria, he is he's one of the more coaching principals, and that's not how the academy should be represented. Not at all.
Nope.
Nope. I'm going to have a very stern talking with him after this, and that is, to me, that's kind of disgusting. I hate seeing racing like that, and I hate seeing it with someone in my academy doing it. And
well, I'll say this.
It's just terrible.
Can I cut in? I was going to say, safety car is in this lap, but what Florian did with Hunted at Austria was not intentional at all. It was ridiculous, but it wasn't intentional. And Florian was like, I was driving stupid. You know, and he was driving as if he was trying to get some overtake of the week. However, this situation with Zakaria and Gagi is absolutely intentional. That's the problem, and that's where the issue is resolved around. We've got a race though on our hands that is going to resume here. Haunted controls the pace, leads the pack, and we have 4 drivers behind him on hards. The rest of the drivers in the field are on mediums as well as Haunted. Green flag waving again, underway for the 3rd time in this race. You've got Haunted, who is not chasing the Hunted, but is leading a pack of a Hungary group of cars who are hunting on the back of him. And now Trent Racer gives him the boot there at turn 1. Tried to find a way around, couldn't do it. Behind that, there is tons of battling throughout the field where drivers could make mistakes. You have Tadpole on the back of JTK. That's the closest battle right now, including FBL, Leon. They're going to hope to get themselves up the field to build a gap and extend that range of time that they need in order to not have their penalty be so significant. As well, the big thing about them is they're going to have to overtake cars. We'll watch out there at the back of the field for that. However, in front of that, JTK and Molly positioned for 8th. However, everybody in this restart has been single file the entire time.
No overtakes here in the early stage of this restart, but lots of close quarters racing. But just because of the nature of the Hungary ring. Oh, there's an overtake. Ferrari on Ferrari. That's George on that person. Nice move there by the Ferrari team principal. Stay corrected. There was an overtake here, but the nature of the Hungary ring does make it pretty difficult for passing, as looks like Grandpa's going to lead a very lovely train here down the pit straight.
Well, here we go. Valkyrie and Tadpole gets the move done. How about Grogger's looking on Florian? How about a little redemption right here from the start of this race? Grogger sends it down the inside, pushes Florian out to the curb. Florian contests the place, but can Florian have a charge back at him? We've got yellow flags at the back of the field. We focus in this battle for the time being. We've got side by side for 5th place in this race. Dad Person and Florian. Dad Person is going to remain ahead. How about that action right there for the place, and he squeezes him under the curb. Somehow they remain without a ton of contact into turn 5. In at turn 4, the yellow flags the back of the grid was for Tadpole, Leon, Alex Bear, and I believe FBL.
I think it was just Leon and Tadpole. I don't know what happened between them, but the Ferraris completely tag teamed Florian, and he was just a sitting duck at that point. But the Ferrari is a better car for Florian. He did absolutely everything he could muster in his power, but only so much you can do. He's on the hard tires, and I believe so are the Ferraris. Actually, George is on mediums. That's not where you normally see a pass. The final corner. Lovely move by George. He's onto the podium places, unless Grandpa can have anything to say about it. Here he comes to the outside. More overtaking in the back. Jackson Florian, and George is gonna clear Grandpa. And now the other Ferrari trying to do the same tag team as he did to Florian.
Whoa!
And he almost... How did he save that? Unbelievable driving by that person to keep that car in a straight line. What a battle.
His teammate and team principal did the same thing in France, but lost the car. However, this time around, that person did not lose the rear and go spinning off. So what a save there by that person. Also, you saw Florian get overtaken by him in the background. Yeah, Grandpa made a mistake. Groggers, you know, put some pressure on him, challenged, got through, and by having that person on the back of him wanting to get past. However, that person gonna have to wait for the main straight to go for the overtake. No mistake at the penultimate corner from Grandpa this time. However, this is the closest battle on track between the drivers. You have Grandpa with no DRS, no assistance there from the rear wing. That person who does have assistance. And now Florian charging down the inside, trying to make the move. Can't do it. Groggers as well in front of that is now challenging Strat Racer.
George tried to do the big send heading into turn 1.
Side by side at turn 3, sorry to cut in. Florian and Jackstar. Florian off the road. Jackstar back on. Side by side and ahead of Florian. Florian was the one who went off. Excuse me right there.
And you can see in Florian's car, the Aston Martin just not looking good right now. The first half of this race, he looks so good, so confident, collected, and just ready for anything. But in this latter stage of the race, it looks like the lack of ERS and both hard tires compared to the mediums, looks like he's really getting let down there. As Groggers once more is right on the back of Strat Racer, 2 Ferraris, 1 Mercedes.
Absolutely. You know, something we haven't spoke about as well while this battling has happened, Haunted on those medium tires has pulled out a 6-second lead over Strat Racer for second place in this race. And Grogger still wants back at this. Grogger's pulling to the outside. Strat Racer going to protect the inside line. And now he can't protect it for much longer because Grogger's tries his cutback. And now switcheroo outside line here for turn 2 and around the outside. Can Groggers do this? Eminem style wants to go around the outside, but can he keep it? He does keep it for the inside of turn 3. Side by side, Strat Racer ahead. And now out of this, at the back of the grid, FPL is off the road and now re-enters the circuit with tons of trouble again.
Once again, great defense there from Strat Racer, keeping the Ferraris at bay. This is allowing Jacksta to get into the mix of this as well. And may I quickly mention, Grandpa's 6th, Hunted's 1st. You do the math there.
Okay, FBL's just got a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting. I won't do the math in terms of how many penalties he had. But I'll do the math for what you asked me to do. You have 8 points and 25 points. Well, fastest lap goes to Hunted. So that's, what, 18 points, right? Does that sound about right? 8, no. Well, 8 and 26. 18, yes. It's 18 points.
How what it is, he's leading this championship by a decent margin. Round 3.
Oh!
Here we go.
He faked him. Groggers inside line on Strat Racer, and that's the way he needed to get past. He needed to fake him, pull the dummy, and now that person ahead of Strat Racer before the VSC comes out. That is for, I believe, FPL.
FPL's in the pits, so I'm not sure. I mean, he's out, but interesting on that VSC.
Damage though, so it's surely FPL.
Had to be.
Valkyrie mounted JTK. Okay.
That's very unique. Maybe there's a pass. I don't know. That's interesting. But under VSC, we finally have a chance to breathe. But safe to say, nobody's catching Hunted unless we get a late safety car here.
Yeah, I agree on that, and I don't know if also the gap is kind of, I guess, exaggerated because it's 9 seconds and it didn't start like that under the VSC. I guess Grogger is just trying to keep his delta very well. What it has done, though, is it's caught anyone who is outside of a second gap, a 10-second gap, kind of in between that range, and you can see how much he fell back there at the start of the VSC. And now as the VSC is about to end, He's trying to catch back up to the gap he had, and we'll just see how he manages that with his Ferrari teammate behind there. I thought it was going to end. It didn't. But Groggers is playing some serious games here
there it is.
with the field behind him, and here it is. How about Jackstar? Amazing restart inside line. The two Ferrari teammates want to go at it too, but before doing that, Jackstar has just absolutely muscled his way past Strat Racer. Fair play on him.
Great move, Jacksta, getting by the Mercedes. Good, lovely move. Timed the restart to absolute perfection. And now Grandpa wants to pick up the pieces as well. Off the track goes Melly. And side by side in a turn 4.
Oh, no!
My goodness. Jacksta wants the P3.
Is ahead. Wow. You don't usually see a move made there. And speaking of that, Grandpa had a Strat Racer. He needed to gain a place. He did just that. And now Florian down the inside. Florian threw in Strat Racer. Strat Racer was second in this race, and now he's struggling. JTK's off the road. He's able to re-enter safely. Valkyrie overtakes him. And now, here comes Molly on Strat Racer. Molly gonna throw it down the inside. Strat Racer on 12 lap hard, just struggling.
And those hard tires, they're absolutely dead. Any of these hard runners, they're just suffering badly here. As all of a sudden, the Mercs are 8 and 9 as JTK goes into 9th place. And all of a sudden, Strat Racer's out of the points. Meanwhile, Valky's going to go past Mally as well. That is P7 for her. I believe she also did pit on that full course safety car for the medium tires. But my goodness, the hard runners are struggling bad.
I am so shocked by that. I didn't think they'd struggle that badly, and I mean, maybe just not getting it up to temperature in the restart, maybe not on full cylinders. I mean, their tires, the ideal ratio in their lap time is anywhere from 20 to 24, I would say, like at the very worst. Alex Baer also picked up a penalty. That's a 3-second. He's one of 2 drivers still left in this race in the penalty range. But yeah, I mean, it really does amaze me with that. And Jackstar had that podium at USA. You know, I mean, with that move he made on that person and just how he's been able to claw it back to the field. Obviously with the help of the safety car too. I mean, he's not Jackstar today. He's Gangstar today. I'll say that one for sure.
Oh, and now he's just been done by Bear in the Alfa Romeo. Something's gone absolutely terribly wrong for Strat Racer. Absolute disaster, and such a shame as well. Leading the race in the opening stages, and to see him all the way down in P12, absolute disaster to see it. Such a shame. But battle for P2 continues on. This is what happened.
JTK sent it on Molly. Molly tried to protect the inside, and it looks similar to Cam and Reese's incident at Zandvoort, but the two nearly came together, and luckily Molly only lost 1 place from that.
Lucky there from Mally. Now he has to fight Instincts in the Haas. Haven't seen much of him today, so I'm pretty sure he'd be very happy to pick up a easy little point here for his troubles. As he continues to be only about 2/10 away from Mally. Meanwhile, battle for P7 rages on. It's JTK and Valk, the former teammates at that. Some respect these two. JTK hasn't had the best of races. Had a crash with Owen on lap 1. He's been picking up the pieces ever since. Sure, he wouldn't mind getting a couple points out of this. But back to P2. It's Groggers and Jacksta. Gap was half a second. Now it's 6/10.
Groggers podium in 7 of his last 9 starts. He deserves tons of credit for what he's been able to do, regardless of the car. He's been in a Haas. He's been in a Ferrari. He's been all over, and he's not necessarily raced every one of those last 9 races as well in terms of races. That's why it says starts. So, yeah, he's definitely done what he could in those races. And now,
JTK,
Grandpa,
here we go.
that person Florian, a little bit of a coordinating effect, and you're exactly right about JTK. That is for P8. And in that battle behind that, Instincts as well, alongside Molly. Wheel to wheel here into turn number 2. Molly giving a little bit of a squeeze in the background. Tadpole and Strat Racer battle it out. Side by side into turn 3 still, and there goes Instincts.
There it goes. And oh my, what a shame for Instincts. And I think that I'm going to have to blame myself. That's a commentator's curse right there. If I've seen one, that person, he's in the gravel.
No. Ferrari, we're doing so well with both their cars. Going to score top fives with both of their cars, and now that is come undone.
I've clipped what happened with Mally and Instincts. I don't know. Mally kind of pinched him on that inside
I didn't get a
curb.
good view of it.
Mally pinched him on the inside curb and it just sent him around. Couple attacking drivers here. Jacksta on Gruggers and Florian on Grandpa here. I don't think. Oh, here comes Jacksta. Here we go.
Oh! Outside
Side
line
by
for turn
side.
1. Jackstar going to pull it. They do bang wheels. However, that forces Groggers to push him out wide, and Jackstar re-enters alongside him and now behind him, and now having a cutback for turn 2 round the outside. Can Jackstar do it? Side by side. Oh, it's like Checo and Piastri. They're just in the video game, and now it is Jackstar behind Groggers. Grandpa remains behind Florian, and JTK ahead of Valkyrie still. More yellow flags. That is Tadpole.
Tadpole. He went around in turn 3. And in the midst of all of that, JTK and Valk, beautiful little battle between the two of them. Little bang of the wheels, but they kept it as clean as they could, and JTK threw into P6, Valk back into 7th, which is where she was before that person had the sbinato.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It doesn't make sense to me. I didn't see it, obviously, but whatever happened with him, he was stuck on the curb right there. He ran it the correct way you were told to do in the event notes, so, you know, he's not going to get a penalty for that, but we're entering the penultimate lap, Hunted with a 12-second lead. You know, I know someone's going to call for him to be moved up to F1 as Tadpole picks up a penalty, but need race from him to pull that gap, and now that gap for second place is closing, and it's closing fast. Jackstar around the outside. He had a podium in USA the second to last time that he raced. He's full-time this season. His attendance has been poor, the Alpine team principal said of Tadpole, but he wants to prove something, that even when he does race, he can still do it. And now he cannot get around Groggers, but he might have one last chance to do so.
He's got one realistic chance to do so, which is obviously turn 1 here on the last lap. But you never know. We've seen some overtakes in some freaky places, like the chicane they're going through right now. We've seen some action here, and of course some controversy, some fun battles, some dirty battles, and a Red Bull leading by 13 seconds. And I'm pretty sure I've already seen this before, like 15 in Formula 1.
Yeah, why does it come to the video game? We want actual entertainment.
Well, that's what happens when you get a late safety car and a car on mediums compared to a car on hards.
There goes Jackstar. Whoa! That got close on the run toward turn 1. However, Jackstar is going to have to tread around the outside. They come together. They're both off. And now Florian and his Aston Martin debut is going to go to second place, while Grandpa inherits P3, a much needed moment for him in the championship.
Grandpa trying to get by, not gonna do it. Ferrari, both of them outside the top 5. That run's gonna end. Meanwhile,
with a penalty. Final corner. Here is Hunted in the Red Bull. For the second week running, he's going to win back-to-back races, and now he's going to take over the championship lead with it. His second win of the season and second win in F2. He wins the Hungarian Grand Prix, and by a long, long margin as well. Unbelievable race from him.
Very good-looking F2 cars, if I say so myself. In the Aston Martin. Absolutely. Respectively. I'm sure the stewards are going to have a little look at that one. And, oh my goodness. We knew it was going to come down to turn 1 on the last lap. but we didn't exactly know that they were gonna crash there.
Yeah, I will say Florian's podium for Aston Martin helps them keep their bid for 5th place in the constructors alive. They are best of the rest, and outside of the top 4 teams, that's the only team outside the top 4 teams to score a podium this season. So Florian, fired from Ferrari, is Grogger's regretting that decision now? I know he got it through Grogger's and the Mercedes, or the McLaren's collision with Jackstar. However, Florian still put on an almighty race for Aston Martin, taking a what would have been a P4 finish, but taking a P2 finish. Aston now have 5 consecutive points finishes here in Tier 2, and there's your podium.
Oh my goodness. These guys get to
I'm amazed.
soak in the bubbly. And like you said, that was exactly what Grandpa needed to keep his title fight as close as he can. Hunted with a fantastic victory. Florian, Aston's first podium since Monza last season. Grandpa taking up if I must say, that's not a Mickey Mouse podium. I don't really know what is, but a podium's a podium. JTK
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't. I'll tell you why I wouldn't, if you don't mind. I think he took it. He was in the position to take advantage, though. You know, enough far back. I think that's the good thing for him. He didn't have the best races, but still was able to remain consistent. And there's your final results on our screen. Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut in if you were trying to finish there.
But if I had to give a driver of the day, I'm gonna give it to JTK. I mean, I'd say Hunted, unbelievable result, 17 seconds with the victory. But I give it to JTK in the fact that he was dead last at the end of lap 1. He came through to finish. He came through the entire field, got a little bit lucky, and he has a P4 out of that. That's a fantastic result. And shout out to Valk as well. She struggled throughout that event, but came out with a top 5, which I think that's a good confidence boost for her.
Agreed, especially with finishes worse than 9th the last 3 races in a row. And yeah, I'd give my driver of the day to Hunted. I know the safety car helped him, and it was probably going to be a battle between him and Trent Racer, but even then in the second half of this race, he was on cruise control. And to be honest, Hunted deserved the win, and not only deserved the win, but deserves driver of the day, because this is crucial at the halfway point of the season now to take the championship lead, especially with knowing he's going to miss, I believe, a race in the future here this season. Grandpa's already missed his race that he did miss. It's a 5-point gap between Grandpa and Hunted. You said driver of the day to JTK, but you know what? Even though you say driver of the day to him, I don't agree. However, what I can say for JTK, though, is if something does happen to these top 2 in the championship, JTK's right there in P3, just a race outside of them. I think 20-some-odd points back. Will definitely be probably 30-ish by the end of this race. So, you know, I think the good thing for JTK is that he's remained consistent enough to be just right there if something does happen to both of them, and he's able to take advantage by winning a race or being on the podium.
Fantastic results there. And as you said, JTK trying to keep his slim title hopes alive, and since it's Tier 2, you never really know here. But Hunted taking the championship lead with absolute force, with a victory by 17 seconds. Shades of me in Austria a couple seasons ago. I did that as well, but we don't talk about that. I got DQ'd from that race. But at least I don't think he's getting DQ'd, so fantastic result by Hunted, and I completely understand voting him driver of the day. That was pure dominance.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep you all updated where we're at for the rest of the weekend. So, F2 is tomorrow at Silverstone. That is 11:15 a.m. Eastern and 4:15 p.m. UK time. Also, as well, is F1 Tier 1 tomorrow. The 29th different circuit that F1 Tier 1 has raced. It's Qatar. And Reese and Scyther, you know, we've talked about a championship battle here for Tier 2, but that's the real championship battle that we're setting our sights on, in my opinion. We do have a championship battle on F2 as well, but it's kind of too early to say whether or not that will remain the same for the final couple races. But we're in crunch time in the Tier 1 season. It's 22 races long. We got 6 races left, and it's a gap that is around 50 points. I can't remember the exact gap. I think it's 48. But at one point, that lead was 91 points for Reese, and now it's at 48. If Reese were to lose the title to Scyther, he would have a record in RPL that I don't think anybody wants. You remember, everyone probably remembers the record that gets overshadowed of last season in real life F1, where Max Verstappen had the biggest deficit of points, overturned over Charles Leclerc with, 40-something points from round 2, 3 of the season, and then ended up winning the championship. The previous time that's happened in F1 Tier 1, it was 30-something points between, I believe, Scyther and Joe Loke. The funny thing enough, though, is that if that record were to be broken, and even if he does finish second from here on out, it's a close race at the very end, and it's between a couple of points between them with who comes out on top most likely. So you do want to tune into that for Tier 1. That is tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. UK time. Also, as well, is next week we are at, for Tier 2, we are at Spa. We were there last season for a new sprint format and a regular race. However, this season, I don't think we have the sprint format, and we do have quite the race on our hands with 2 championship contenders, and even other teams in this battle as well. Red Bull might have done well with JTK and Hunted today, which is what they needed. But again, Red Bull make a mistake. You got Ferrari right there. You got Mercedes right there. Not as much Mercedes, but definitely McLaren and Ferrari more so, that they're a lot closer. Mercedes did what they needed to in the first half of this race to show that they can gain back that gap. However, the second half of this race, it was not so pretty.
I can give an excuse. I have the reasoning for well, not really an excuse, but the reasoning for the failure of Track Racer, what happened to him. Basically, from what he told me, his controller just puked itself and he couldn't turn it on for like the last 12 laps after the restart. Controller shut down. It wouldn't turn back on for the entire remainder of that race. So, massive shame for him. And yeah, it absolutely sucks for him. On the plus side, Valk did pick up some decent positions. I think she went from like P12 to P5 after the restart. So good stuff, her picking up some good Mercedes points, and Aston Martin as well with the podium, pretty much solidifying themselves in P5, and I believe that is their first podium of the season. So great job there.
Aston Martin, you said?
Yes.
Yes, it is for Tier 2. Yes. So that shall be interesting. Either way, hinted at something earlier in the week, and I was gonna mention it, but I didn't get to until now because he has just reminded me. He said probably his last season of racing. Obviously, has a lot more stuff IRL to focus on, and has been racing RPL for a very, very long time. One of the very big OG members of RPL. So if he could win a title here before calling it quits, that would be very nice on his part. Tier 2 next week, Spa. F2 tomorrow, Britain, F1 tomorrow as well for our events at Qatar. Beatnik, those should be tons of fun. What are we going to expect next weekend in Spa and the rest of this weekend for F2 and F1? Hello? Beatnik?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we still streaming?
Yeah, we are.
Final thoughts?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was not paying attention. I was looking at.
You're good. Don't worry.
I was looking at Merc Academy stuff.
Yeah, I
but
can see why.
we got some action-packed action today. And tomorrow I think it's gonna be very fun with Qatar being first on the schedule. It's gonna be, like you said, with the championship battle. It's gonna be a really intense race, and some tensions between those two. So we could be set for a fantastic race, and you and Titan or you and Owen, whoever commentates it tomorrow, I think is going to be in for an absolute treat for Tier 1. In terms of F2, I have no idea what's going on. I don't pay attention. So I grab a setup
Just
and I
race.
race. So
Exactly. Yeah, I hear you.
final thoughts. Today
No,
was a very fun race. and
absolutely, and we have Spa next week as well. What's to be expected there, and then we'll end it off.
Spa, so Spa could be a very iffy track, and some absolutely fantastic racing. The weather is a massive question mark, and we as well. But looking at it as a Mercedes team principal, I'm not looking forward to it one bit because 218 miles an hour. So, it's not going to
Ooh,
be fun for my Merc
ooh.
drivers, and the fact that we have no top speed. So, hopefully we could pick up some good points, but I'm gonna be holding my breath for that one. But from a commentator's point of view, I think it should be a very exciting one. It's one of the best tracks for racing on the F1 game.
Absolutely. Make sure those of you watching tune in next week for Spa. That is the event for Tier 2. Each Tier 2 event for RPL is each Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. Make sure you are following us on Twitch, RPL_XB1. Later on this weekend, we have tomorrow, Silverstone for F2, and Qatar as well for F1 Tier 1. Beatnik, thank you for joining me. It was good to have you, and we'll see next week what happens, and tomorrow what happens for our races. Owen and I will be on commentary for Tier 1. I'll be by myself for F2. Either way, we will see you next week and tomorrow whenever you choose to tune in for more racing and RPL. And until next time, Beatnik714, RhinoCon31, giving you a good night.